What's up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit podcast. As always, we got my man Logan Hyder of Cinema 83 LLC in the house, doing the things, making this all come together.
Hola.
Thank you for being here, bro. And our third time return guest, the muscle medic, Jesse May.
What up?
I've been watching too much BKFC.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know why. What led me to that intro? I just felt hyped all of a sudden.
I like it. Is he our first third?
Fucking ghost, baby. It's the ghost.
Is he the first third?
Sponsor us.
3-time?
He was in the garage, and then he came in here,
Twice.
and then he's back.
I think he's the first 3-time.
Ooh.
I think he is.
I'm special.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
It's just because you work here now.
He just walked across the hall.
That's true.
I was like, hey, Jesse, we don't got anybody.
Hey, what you doing, bro? You hanging out?
No. We actually, well, it works out well, though, because I've been hesitant on booking guests recently just because, like, I could have had a baby like a week ago. We could want to have one right now. So it's just like, I don't want to book someone far away. Right. And be like, yeah, show up on this date. And then that day, just been fucking with me. So, and it just works out that you are in this building and I see you a lot. And we were supposed to record yesterday, end up at the doctor. And then it's like, hey, can you record today? And it worked. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. And we've been wanting to record anyway. So just.
Yeah, you're under a lot of stress, bro.
I was going to say, with everything Joe's got going on, we're a little bit staggered, but we're about as caught up on episodes as possible. So, like, we're recording this, what is today? The 25th. And this will probably come out, like, next week. So we're, like, we're pretty caught up when it comes to that. But
everything's tight.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to end up taking a week off, but we've just got a lot.
We're not. We can't.
Yeah, but if you've noticed lately, you've been watching it, and
I don't think Joe Rogan's taking a week off.
Joe Rogan's releasing 4 episodes a week, but
fuck.
Well,
Slow down, slow your roll.
Anyways, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, so we're still making sure that we get them out every single week. We haven't missed a week despite everything going on. Yes, I'm going to be out of the country. We still won't miss a week.
Oh shit, dude.
So we're doing our thing, but bear with us if anything seems a little bit. Trying to get the Patreon up and stuff seems a little bit less tight than usual.
Y'all got it rolling, dude. Y'all got it rolling.
Logan's going to be on the cruise ship. They're going to be like, dude, you're from the Relentless Pursuit podcast.
I was at I went with my fiance to her brother-in-law's wedding, like last weekend. I was telling you about that. I was whatever. Anyway, a person, he told me to tell you his name, and I fucking forgot. If he's listening to this, he's going to be mad at me. But a guy came up to me at the wedding, and like started talking to me about the podcast, and I recognized me from the podcast, and he said that you would know him. But definitely forgot.
Yeah,
but that was cool. Like just randomly,
don't know him.
He was like, "You do the podcast, right?" And it happens to me fairly frequently now. It's interesting.
Cool, dude. Yeah, you're gonna be like a celebrity on the cruise ship. They're gonna be like, "That's the RP podcast guy, Logan Hyder." Dude,
perhaps you're on all the clips that go crazy though. I'm just on the full length.
Yeah. I know. I've been getting it. Speaking of, I got to say this before we get into Jesse's story because we're just kind of rambling.
Jesse's like, what the fuck?
I feel like we haven't recorded like with a guest in wow. I don't know. It's been crazy lately, man. My mind's just like, but it's funny because like a couple of clips gone viral, and of course the mushroom trip ones do, and there's only so much you can fit into like a 1-minute clip. So I got the one about turning into a werewolf, and so I talk about like eating a chocolate bar, 4-gram chocolate bar, and people, and like running around the woods. And like half the comments are people tagging their friends or like, hell yeah, I want to hang out with you. Da-da-da. Or half of them are like, fucking bitch, only 4 grams, man up. Like from some dude that has like dreads like coming out of his eyeballs pretty much. And I'm like, calm down. And then like, oh, you're in the middle of nowhere. At campsites, loser. And I'm just like, y'all just totally don't fucking get it. And I got to ignore that stuff because people are just assholes.
But the more it gets viewed, the more it's just a numbers thing. You're going to get more good comments and more bad comments.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know why there's always got to be some comparison. Like, but anyways.
I think across all the accounts, this will be the last thing we say about this, I promise. But I think this is very notable to say. I seriously was thinking about it the other day, and like I haven't done any of the analytics on the social media because it's so hard to do because they're so spread out on different guest pages and stuff. But legitimately counting all the platforms, I think we've got to be approaching 1 million total views. Got to be because we're on almost 400,000 just on YouTube. Then you think about Brandon's one clip was 50K. You showed me a clip that was 50K. That's another 100K. So that's 600. And then between all the ones that are at 10, 5, 3, 4, 6, I mean,
I've got
we've
like,
got to be at a million. Or if we're not at a million, we're damn close.
dude, I'll tell you now, TikTok's got
that's-
about at least 500,000.
So there you go. So we've got to be over a million then.
So,
Total
anyways.
views, which is awesome.
We're just getting it out there, bro.
But think about that though.
No, I'm just listening.
Over a million.
Yeah,
I haven't.
it's like, why am I here?
Isn't that nuts? Over a million?
Yeah, it's
think
crazy.
about that. Like,
A million, that's 2 million eyeballs.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really kept up. So
yeah.
And if you think about it, it could be
Haven't had
more
to-
views than that technically, because if someone's watching a clip with 2 or 3 of their
Yeah,
friends,
there you go.
that's more views.
We got watch parties going on. Who knows?
Anyways.
So what's up, Jesse? How you doing?
All right, Jesse. What, Jesse? Okay, so since last time y'all saw Jesse, when was that? You weren't in here yet.
What?
You weren't like
No, he wasn't.
You weren't moved into space already.
oh, moved in.
No, you were not.
So since last time you guys saw Jesse, he is now residing in the HQ. And so now we have Jesse and Aaron here, the Muscle Medic team in the house. And we got, he's always working on people, healing them, fixing their problems, like physically and like, in a lot of ways, actually. And then, he's got the ice bath and all the cool things he brought along. And so it's been really cool having him here. Really good energy within this building. I'm very grateful for it. And I'm stoked to have him here, man. And it's cool because he shares the vision and he believes in this as much as I do. And so it's cool just to kind of work together and help each other grow. So glad you're here, Jesse.
I'm glad to be here too, man.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm kicking ass over here, so it's nice. It's a smoother transition than I thought it was going to be. It's definitely a little bit more like lonely than I thought it was going to be too, though. But
Yeah,
I just came from like a massive gym that I don't know. I saw people all day, every day.
Yeah.
and I got to talk to people all the time, and now it's like it's very just particular. It's my clients, and then it's a totally different flip in energy.
Yeah.
So it took some getting used to.
See, I
But-
prefer the alone time. But that's just me.
I wished for that at Olympus. Like that was absolutely what I was.
It's just an adjustment with what you're saying.
Yeah, I was really begging for that because I was so overwhelmed there, and then I got here and it was like, holy crap! There's so much space for my mind to think like this is bad.
Yeah, with all the people, I wouldn't be able to focus though on anything. Like, because I'm already scatterbrained, and like I had all the stimulation from other people. I'd be like, oh shit, I didn't do anything today. So yeah, it's a give and take, I guess. But I guess it's some days you get in your head, you're like, fuck, I wish somebody was around.
Yeah. It's just I'm used to bullshitting with people in the immediate space of just maybe a client cancels or something, and now it's like I'm a little bit further, and now I can't just like kind of go do whatever the fuck I want. But at the same time, that makes me I need that because I get a lot more done. I get a lot more.
Well, they're building a Buc-ee's right up the road. So when that gets here, a client cancels, you go walk around Buc-ee's and talk to people for like, dude, they start
the
yelling at you
overheads.
as soon as you walk in. They're nice as shit. You just walk around there for 40 minutes.
I've never been in a Buc-ee's. It's
amazing.
And that's just because I'm a small town Arkansas boy, but like.
But they put them in small towns now.
Well, okay. Well, not when I was growing up. And everybody talks about Buc-ee's like it's this crazy thing. And so I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting to see what the fuck it is.
The best bathrooms, dude.
Okay.
Yeah,
you would know
it
because
is
that's what you
So I do. That's
investigate.
the only thing I really go to.
Yeah.
They really do though. They have like 30 stalls, and they're all like immaculately clean constantly.
Did you know Joe's got the number one assessment in the U.S. of bathrooms and gas stations?
You should start a little
Yeah,
series.
he's actually
Like a review.
He's actually got like this chart with all these different variables that he checks off in every bathroom that he goes to.
like pizza reviews and stuff. so you can
Sponsored
just
by
do
Huggies.
bathrooms.
Every
Sponsored by Huggies.
yeah.
Huggies, listen
my
up.
God.
Huggies men's wipes. I'm going to be the spokesperson. Anyways, so Buc-ee's will have that, and they got really good brisket and stuff. They got all kinds of good food.
That's a fact,
Free
too.
beef jerky
And a million
galore.
gas stations, like
They
a
got
million
like
gas pumps.
50 beef jerky flavors.
Bro, you know you're
Their
in the
beef jerky
South
is
when
amazing.
you're like Buc-ee's.
Dude, someone hated on. They're like, Buc-ee's stupid. I'm like, dude, stop being negative. It's cool. Shh.
I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying like it's funny that everybody's like gas station.
I know exactly. Until like they built one in Crossville where my dad lives, and he was doing the same thing, and I was like, "You guys sound so dumb."
I think of the amount I travel.
But then you go there, and you're like, "Holy shit, dude!"
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's the same. And fucking, I went to Jake's the other day.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you ever been through Summertown or not.
Yeah.
Okay, I got pulled over and I got a freaking citation. So
You got pulled out there?
Fuck Summertown. Damn. So there's that. But secondly,
What a
I'm
nice
sure
name.
I'm sure that place is like, oh, we're getting a 7-Eleven.
Yeah, that is what it sounds like.
Hell
That is
yeah.
what it sounds like.
Yeah, because like there's nothing out there. So
Yeah, dude. It's I mean, I think I've been on the road. I'm on the road so much, and it's just like I think I just because I've traveled so much and I always use the restroom often and stuff. Like I got my favorite gas station, so I get excited about gas stations.
It's like
this
a
is nice.
super huge, super nice pilot. Like or Thornton's or something. Not even a Thornton's. It's like a.
I'm a
more
Loves
like
guy.
pilot.
I like Loves.
all right, well I figured it out.
Anyways, so Jesse, since then you moved in, and then
Last time before on the second one I was talking about, I was about to go to an ayahuasca experience.
yeah. So let's dive in. Let's take a turn. Get away from Let's go away from the Buc-ee's. Let's stray away from the Buc-ee's and the Loves and all these things, these amenities. Let's go out into the jungle with Jesse.
Oh yeah, I went to the jungle. All right. I went to the fucking jungle of the universe.
All right, bro. Well, and we did ayahuasca a couple years ago.
Yeah,
like
November 2021.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Tell us about this.
this was a trip that I really felt like I needed. And however, even through the trip, there was so much resistance working up to it because there's so many things telling me not to do it, including, there's like, kind of scarcity in my relationship at the time of it. I think it scares anybody in any relationship when someone goes and does something like ayahuasca, especially if you're not familiar with it, especially if like the other party absolutely has no idea. But there was that, and then there was a lot of hesitation internally for whatever reason, and I was like, I almost pulled out of it like 3 or 4 times. Yeah, and I see why, because it was so incredibly intense, and brutal. But that was my own internal soul, like being like, bro, you're about to get in some shit, and I go out to Costa Rica and do this 7-day retreat. And so it was 3 ayahuasca ceremonies.
A refresher for the listeners that may not know, because like a lot of people don't understand this. What is ayahuasca?
So ayahuasca is a sacred plant medicine that has been used for thousands of years by shamans. And it's definitely, I think my opinion has still changed a little bit. I'm not going to say that I'm against it. I'm not going to say that I'm like super major pro for ayahuasca anymore. Not for any negative reason, but more so, ayahuasca is a way to open up your mind. It is a way to really tap into your subconscious and your soul and make some serious transformational leaps and make some serious bounds.
And it's more specifically used in like South America, right?
Yeah, it is.
Well, please.
So this is actually really loud and echoey in my headphones. I don't know if that's okay. Cool. Turn up just a little bit more. Sorry, it was a drastic jump.
Okay, there's something with that second one that's like a lot of people say it's really loud for some reason. I don't know.
Sorry, what was the question?
Sorry.
ADHD.
I was saying it's more
You're good,
specifically like South America.
Yeah, so South America, and it's every continent has their indigenous medicine, and so ayahuasca is known as the tea of the gods. It's known as and essentially that's still the running story, that the gods gifted them the information of how to alchemicalize certain plants and brew them, because that's what it is. It's essentially a very thick, nasty tea that is
I thought it tastes all right. When I
I've always heard it's disgusting. I've never done it, but
I don't know. I like weird stuff.
Yeah, it's different. It's different, and it's like it's a love-hate relationship, because it's a definitely extremely unique taste. There is nothing like it on the planet. There's no comparison. But at the same time, first of all, there's the Clockwork Orange kind of reaction where it's going to kick your ass, and when it does, like you just get that shiver. And I don't think I took any of these shots of ayahuasca, because like we got them in like little shot glasses. I don't think I took any single one. And like after the first one, that first night, every single one that I went up for, I was like, while she was pouring it, I was like just watching it. I was like, like it was just like I could feel it, It was just like, oh god, this is about to go down. And so it's like it's weird, because it's not so much that the initial taste is terrible. It's like the mid and aftertaste. It's just like, so
it's like the feeling you get if like you hate grizzly wintergreen. If you were about to put the bad flavor of dip in,
right,
you're like, oh
yeah, dude.
I know that.
I mean, I've just had terrible experiences with wintergreen, bro. That's why I was hating on it, dude.
I was just gonna say taking a shot in general. Like somebody poured a shot.
Oh, true. Like if there's vodka comes at me, I'm dead.
I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah,
You get the shutter.
Or like Jaeger or some shit. Ugh, God.
God.
Anyways,
yeah, every continent has their thing, and so I go down there, and I remember writing in my journal because I was back and forth trying not to fight this thing, and I just finally wrote down in my journal, like, there's so much resistance inside of me. I have to go down here and fight this dragon. There's some kind of thing that I really have to like slay inside. And it you know, I knew what it was. It was a lot of levels of different insecurities. It was a lot of levels of, or I thought it was a lot of levels of insecurity. I thought it was a lot of problematic healing and like childhood shame, all that kind of stuff. I drastically found a different thing that happened, and that was the flip side. I think that was why it was also so impactful, because that's just not what I found. And so I go down to Costa Rica and do the 7-day retreat. Beautiful place, amazing. I'm excited. I'm nervous, and this is a lot different because I'm not with you guys. This is alone, and granted, I'm with a group, but you know, I'm alone, and the energy, I mean, I think it would have been totally different with you guys there. And I guess there was definitely a feeling that, you know, we're bros, we got each other's back. It doesn't matter what happens. And this one, I was truly like on my own journey out in the freaking wilderness of consciousness.
Were you afraid?
And, I guess that pause is yes, but it wasn't afraid in the sense of ayahuasca tripping me out. It was afraid in the sense of like, I don't know what I'm going to find out. I know I need to find it out. I don't know what I'm going to, and I don't know what kind of truths are going to be revealed to me, but I'm here for it. And then it whipped my ass. And it wasn't exactly the truth that whipped my ass. It was the intensity of the full on experience, like the visuals and everything. But
because at the end of the day, you know what you're going to go do, but you still had, but like what's after that action of taking those drinks, right? Like that's the unknown.
Right.
And it's just like this, most people fear the unknown. It's just like, you don't know what the fuck's going to happen.
Yeah. and so like, I still think, I think everybody wants to be different, but I definitely had the shaman straight up tell me like, she hasn't seen many reactions like that. And like, I was pretty far out there. And the fact that she had to kill the trip and tried to multiple times with lemon and salt, that's where I didn't know what she was doing either. I thought I mean, I got to get
putting spells or some shit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I got to get into this full story, but I'm trying to figure out how to lead up to it. But anyway, get to the retreat. It's all amazing, beautiful. Get to know all of our instructors and and everybody, and kind of going through how the week's going to be laid out. And then we get to the first experience. And that first night, I was really just trying to be open, trying to relax. I was already feeling so much better because I had so much bound up energy, and even the plane ride was just freaky. And it wasn't an anxiousness of ayahuasca. It was like just this terrible, overwhelming feeling that was happening to me in the beginning of December. And it was like, dude, the second I landed in Costa Rica, I felt so much better. And I kind of started thinking like, maybe it's the signals and Wi-Fi. I don't know. It just feels different over here. I just felt so like free and much just open. And so that was the first signal. And so I was having a great day that first day in the hotel. And then I got to the retreat. I was having an even better day. And so things were going really well. I was like, man, maybe this will be actually pretty freaking awesome. Like maybe this, I think I was talking myself out of it, but I was like, man, I'm glad I came. And that night we come to the first experience at 5:00. And I had a lot. I had a whole lot of medicine. And that was my own arrogance that definitely got into it, because I decided that I was going to go deep. And, I hadn't really talked to anyone about my plan, nobody's really asking you like, how much ayahuasca you're going to take. No one's like that. It's you show up and you trust the medicine, you allow it to do its work. You allow it to do, you allow it to show you whatever it needs to show you. So you could just kind of trust your intuition. And I wasn't feeling it. I took my first shot. I took my first, which was like a medium, and I felt like starting out off with a medium of one of the blends, and waited, of course. And this time it was a lot longer. Last time it was like 45 minutes before you could come up in the next one.
Yeah.
This time it was like an hour and a half.
Oh, really?
And
maybe it was because it was type of blends they had.
No, it was the same ones. This one was it just felt way longer. So I was just sitting there forever, and I just wasn't feeling anything. And then, granted, I didn't perfectly do the dieta right. And so that day, this was a real problem. And this is a good backstory of why it was like it was because I had never tried yucca, and they had yucca on the menu for lunch. And I tried it, and it's a very fibrous potato-y plant. It's like almost a potato substitute.
Yeah.
And this, I tried it just to try it, and it wasn't like the greatest. And so I tried putting honey on it, and it was really good. So I ate the rest of the serving on there. I didn't think about it. I didn't have a whole lot, but still, it's a fibrous thing that's going to take a long time to digest. Yeah. And you really want the ayahuasca to get through you. And so I have this medium shot, which is like 1 shot glass. And then I go up for a large, which is 2 shot glasses.
Yeah.
I get that in. And at one point in the very beginning, I get kicked out because the shaman is going around singing her Icaros, and I'm like patting on my knees, like drumming to it. And I'll like just make it like I'm a little kid, and everything. And then she comes to me, and I don't know what she was thinking, but she comes to me, and she's like, hey, why don't we let you go outside for a minute? And I'm like, okay. And so I go outside, and Sophia, like she handed me off to Sophia, and Sophia walks me outside, and she's like, and Sophia's just sitting there with me for a minute. She's like, why'd you get sent outside? And I was like, I think I might've been being rude. I was just like tapping, and like I was high. I was definitely in the ayahuasca high, but I wasn't like tripping yet. And I was like, I don't know, man, it feels like I'm visiting this place, and like I'm always a kid, and I'm always, the one who gets in trouble, and so
it's like, and then that come up too. It's like it is kind of like just like a funny little high.
It's like a drunk high.
Yeah, you're just kind of like kind of giggly. Yeah, I remember that shit.
And then I came back in.
You got about a minute. Before we gotta take a break.
I came back in, and I had another cup. And I was sitting there for a while, still not feeling anything, just feeling that drunkenness, And I don't even know what time this is. It's probably like 3 hours into it, maybe. And then I go up for a 5th cup, and the shaman's walking around the room. And in my head, something was like, this is probably a lot, buddy.
All right, let's stop there. 5th cup, just because you're going to get
agreed.
5th cup
real
incoming.
Quick before we cut out. So by comparison, how many would you normally have?
1 or 2.
1 or 2.
And so like a medium is like 1 shot, a small is like a half a shot, and then a large is 2 shots.
You'd usually take 1 or 2.
You would take like of the glass. Most people are going to take 1 or 2, and my total that I ended up taking was 4.
As always, this episode is brought to you by Relentless Pursuit. Check us out at relentlesspursuitlifestyle.com. Go snatch some apparel up, show some love, show some support. Be sure to go all out on the podcast, especially YouTube. Go like, share, subscribe, review, get it out there, share things. It shows us so much support and helps this production keep going. We want to bring more and more guests on. We want this to be massive. And so we love the support so far. Thank you all for being a part of it. And stay tuned. We got the Patreon coming here within the next 2 weeks. We're going to have that launched. We've already got an episode recorded for it. Basically, it's a subscription-based thing. You pay a monthly fee, but we're going to release exclusive episodes to this community. This community will therefore be able to like chime in on subjects they want to talk about, any kind of questions or ideas, and like, hey, we want to hear about this. And so we'll be able to get on the podcast and discuss those things, and also offering codes for apparel and, a lot more stuff as time goes along.
Yeah, that will be growing.
Yeah, that'll be growing. This is new territories, but definitely show that some love. And also brought to you by Cinema 83 LLC, my boy Logan Hyder. Check him out. He's the guy you need to talk to as far as production, camera things, podcasts, all that good stuff. He's the best around. And yeah, go ahead and hit us with an ad for you. Just a quick Muscle Mad advertisement.
Yeah, I'm here in the Relentless Pursuit headquarters, and I fix people. I fix people physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I'm here, and if you want to reach out at the Muscle Medic Instagram, _muscle_medic, and there's a book now button with all of my awesome services. So come see me, come check me out.
There was a mirror right in front of me. My shirt looked good, dude. And I was like,
right, dude.
I was like peg popping. She's like, you really peg popping in the baby doctor.
I'd be doing the same thing.
And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like,
There's a mirror. Yeah, there's a mirror.
yeah.
Why not?
What do I do?
Okay. All right. So
I show all these other dads up. Okay.
Where was I at?
Oh, we're good to go? Oh, shit, man. I'm bullshitting about peg popping.
5 shots. Okay. So, yeah. So I came up and, and definitely knew that 5 shots was probably a lot. But I was kind of thinking about getting a small. So that would have been like 4.5 total cups. But anyway, I go up and Shaman's walking around the room. Sophia comes over to me, which is one of the helpers there. And she's saying, also retreat organizer. And she was like, hey, so she's walking around the room right now. So she's probably going to be a minute. So you might want to go sit back down. Okay. So still drunk, still not really feeling it. She goes all the way around the room. I'm just sitting there and I'm starting to slump. And I'm kind of like, I don't necessarily feel things coming on, but like that mood change is kind of happening. And I'm like, like it just kind of starts getting darker. And then
I remember that dark phase.
Yeah, man. And then
Can I just throw something real quick?
yeah,
And I was asking you like how much you would normally take at the end of the last segment. Like earlier, whenever he was saying for people that don't know what ayahuasca is, right? So every once in a while, if you could throw like, by comparison, this is what you normally do, or normally
Right.
this is how this would happen. Because like
by comparison, you would not fucking do what I did.
yeah. But the mood switch is a normal thing, right? Like you get like you're up, and then you kind of do the purge thing.
I think
and
me, you, and so what's
I'm talking.
I
Like
want to
from
chime in on this because it seemed like
Yeah.
a lot of people didn't go through a dark phase, but one thing me, you, and Jake talked about was going through a really dark period because I went through
there's some
point in time where it was like, this is dark shit.
Which again, I'm here
and
just
so-
to play the role of the guy who hasn't done it, who's just asking
Right.
questions out of my ass. So
Yeah, I'll
that's-
tack on that at the end of my
Okay.
first story.
'Cause I thought it was something like Black
there's-
Magic, yeah.
But yeah, exactly. And there is some esoteric heritage bloodline kind of stuff in this too, which is very important. Like, but I'll tack on that after the story. But let's just say it's very common for white males to experience a fight with ayahuasca. And there's a heritage and there's the stories that go along with that with the ancient Greek gods of like Hercules and all of them that traveled down into southern regions into the underworld to fight the snake because ayahuasca is the serpent, it is the snake, and instead of surrendering, it's a fight, and it's a fight for instead of surrendering, it's a fight, and it's something that you have to go through for strength, not.
Oh, so that's like a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing, dude. That's a big thing. And we're not the only ones. And so it was funny because actually after this, I got in touch with my shaman here who does not believe in psychedelics and everything. And she told me, she was like, yeah, my instructor that taught me, was like very Nordic Viking guy, very old school Nordic shaman that came from Iceland. And his experience was ayahuasca was absolute battle. And so that's, and it depends on how far you go.
Makes
right?
sense. I saw a battle in my trip.
Right. And it's crazy, dude. So she goes around the room and she finally gets to me. And then as soon as she gets to me, she's shaking like the shaker above everyone. Right. And I'm not really paying attention to anyone. I'm just like kind of waiting for her to get there. I'm actually waiting for her to get back so I can take some more. And as soon as she gets there, as soon as she gets above my head, just instantly started feeling like shit. And I was like, this feels really bad. It just felt very dark. It felt very ominous. And like all these thoughts start rushing in my head. I'm like, this is bad. This is not how I'm supposed to feel. This is not good. This is not good. And I just for whatever reason, the flip got switched, and I started feeling like I was like thinking all these things like, fuck, man, I got into some occultic shit. Like, this lady's trying to steal my soul. Like, this lady is trying to she's trying to rip my soul out of my fucking body right now. And I stand straight up and I'm like, nope, I'm not fucking doing this. And I stand straight up. I walk out of the Maloka, which is the hut that we're in. And I go outside, and then the trip just like slams me. I mean, slams me. I look up. I look up and I look at the stars, and like as I'm walking out the door, it's like I walked out the door 1,000 times. It was like I've been there for 1,000 years outside of this hut, looking at the stars and everything. The air is like liquid. Everything is fragmenting and fractalizing and shifting. And I'm like, fuck, man, holy shit. Like, it was just like so overwhelmingly like, holy shit. And as everything's happening and everything's shifting, I'm like thinking, dude, I just really messed up, man. I came here. I'm stuck here in the ether forever. I'm never getting out of this bitch. I've been here for eternity, and this has happened so many times before. And then I was like, yeah, I'm having a hard time. I need to go get Sophia. So I walk over to the door and I get Sophia. I'm like, hey, can you come outside and talk to me for a minute? I'm having a little bit of a hard time. And she's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, come on. And so she walks out with me and we sit on the rock, and she's like, what's going on? I'm like, well, first of all, I think you guys are occultic and y'all are festering people here that are weak and you're trying to steal their souls and everything. She's like, oh,
She didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, she was like, okay, well, first of all, we love you, and that's not happening. What are you going through? And I was like, I don't know, man. I just feel like it's dark. I really feel like I shouldn't have been here. And like, I'm very out of it. So I'm like really mincing and mixing words, and I can't really talk well. And she's like, well, listen, I think that whatever's going on with you may be a little bit more internal. So how do you feel? I was like, I just feel trapped. And she's like, why do you feel trapped? And I was like, I don't know. Like, my soul just feels like just encased. And she was like, okay, dude, you can move, right? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you're a sovereign being. You're here and you're with yourself. You're not trapped. And I think you might be going through some entrapment issues that may have happened maybe in a past life, or maybe just right here, maybe in your childhood. Have you gone through anything like that? I was like, well, yeah. And she's like, where? I was like, well, your mom, and I said my mom and everything. And
I didn't mean to laugh. You said your mom.
Yeah.
Well, your mom and I didn't have a great
She's like,
relationship.
oh shit.
So, just like it was going, I was going through all this stuff, and then like she kind of just tacked on that, and it just like it clicked, and I was like, fuck, she's right. Like, I'm going through some entrapment shit. Okay, cool. And at least that's kind of what I thought. And so I decided to sit on the map, and I'm like, or the mat. They have a yoga mat outside, and commonly, it is common comparison. It is common for if someone's having a hard time, or if someone is having an intense time, to go outside and deal with it, so you don't interrupt the circle.
I had to do that.
Yeah, and so I went outside, and I was like trying to breathe and everything, but I mean, dude, my visuals are so intense. Like, everything is just twisting and fractalizing, and nothing is there. And there's like so many, like I could look at a rock and just, you don't see that rock in time. It's like you see that rock from its entirety of infinity, from the point that it was made and to the point now. You see every freaking person that's ever touched that rock. You see every bit of information that's ever graced that rock. And it's like, you see infinity everywhere you look. And
Can I ask you
so
a question about that real quick?
Yeah.
Do you have like a really vivid imagination in general?
I would say so, but that's a different viewpoint, because I would say I don't view imagination like most people do, because there is no, in my world, there's no such thing as imagination.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess the perspective that I was coming from with that is like, I'm a person that has like super, super, super vivid, like visual dreams, that
Right.
feel like very real, but also they just seem very, and even when I'm awake, I just have what I would call like a vivid imagination. And I'm just curious, like with the visualizations that go on with psychedelics, if that would be an enhancement to those, or if,
So we would say your dreams are real, and they're parallel fractions of yourself that you're experiencing. And just like, a parallel fraction of yourself is experiencing you now, and it's, you doing stuff like this, you truly understand the infinity of possibility of the universe. Like, we're so here and ingrained in this stage, and this trip really brought into perspective. We're so here all the time in mundane life that's just going back and forth, that we kind of get, you're so used to it. Like, this is all you know. But once you step out of that box and you realize like, holy shit, this is like a drop in the ocean, like this entire reality, not just your life, not just his life, a drop in the ocean of this entire reality. Like there's so much else out there. And you start realizing how everything is eternally connected. And so the crappy part was that this was the beginning of the trip, and I'm sitting here trying to breathe and I'm trying to go through breath work. I'm like, all right, cool. And then I get this internal internal thought that's like coming, but I knew it was coming from somewhere else because it was a voice, and it was like, stay focused, breathe, stop getting distracted. And I was on this like eternal loop looking around. And as I would look, it was like, I did this 1,000 times, dude. I would look right, and the shaman would pop out of the hut and look at me. And then I look back, and Sophia's sitting on the rock with another girl talking to her, but they're not talking. They're just standing still. There's no air. There's no wind. It's just perfectly still. I don't even recognize that I'm breathing. The air is still liquid. And then it's like, repeat. And I'd look over, shaman, look back, Sophia, repeat, look over, shaman, back. And I just got stuck in this loop. And it was like this voice inside my head was like, your external reality is not happening right now. Your internal reality is all you have. Focus now. And so I was trying to focus, and the more that I got lost in the external reality, the more my nervous system was kicking up. And the more I noticed, the more my nervous system kicked up, the more intense the visualizations and the craziness of it came in. And the more that I just closed my eyes and I stopped trying to figure out if this was a loop or not, because it definitely was. Like my external reality was dead. It was done. It was just a permanent loop. There was something going on internally in my internal world though. And I was having this conversation with my inner being, but something else.
So the external stuff was more so like a distraction of,
yes,
because like, so, and I just want to ask, I don't know, I just had this on the tip of my tongue, but you were just going, so say for example, you're saying there's millions of possibilities. So like there's parallel fragments, right? So say for example, I have a dream that somebody I love like dies,
right?
You know, that's not necessarily like a vision of what's going to happen here in this reality.
Right.
That could be happening in some other reality somewhere else.
Right.
Okay. So it's a sign, but it just can be coming from somewhere else.
Right.
It's like a multiverse type thing. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely.
I know that's like I always do the Marvel thing because
dude, it's pretty.
Dude,
you're talking about that,
all the crazy aspects of Doctor Strange, bro. Dude, I've been there. I've seen it. Like that shit's insane.
He makes fun of me when I bring up Marvel,
dude.
But they have some stuff in
dude,
there.
Well, that's the thing, especially after like doing ayahuasca and you like go back and watch Doctor Strange and you're like, dude, these guys know. Like these guys, you watch Ant-Man and Doctor Strange and you're like, dude, these guys know. Like
the
this
multiverse is so fascinating, and the way that they do, like I don't know how much of it you've watched, but like the Loki series has is the big thing where they set up the way that they're going to do the multiverse, like structurally, like what in their in the Marvel universe, how is this all set up? How does time work? And that show is really what explained that.
It's dude, in the Loki universe, dude, I'm telling you, that's really to a T what I'm kind of explaining, because like the tethers where you see them going and then it splits off, like a nervous system almost.
Yes, and the only thing I was going to touch on that real quick was just to say that like that whether it be on purpose or not, I mean they're making movies, but they're like, I heard a fighter say this recently, like wherever your power comes from. Like he was talking about how somebody else was making fun of him for like an anime and like a Marvel and that kind of stuff. And he was like saying that he doesn't make fun of him for where he gets his power from. And I never really thought about that as power, but like I have a lot of like visualizations that I work through, even with therapy and stuff. I'll explain to my therapist about the visuals that like the Infinity Gauntlet and the stones. For a long time, that was something that I worked on, about each stone meaning something to me. And if I wanted to access certain things, I would literally try to visualize the stone glowing and like those kind of things. Because those things, have a lot of value, I think, in what they're doing right now with the multiverse thing. One of the things that it seems like was what you're talking about, that was just like a mind-blowing thing because it got me into really thinking about it past just the characters and stuff, right? But was the concept of time being a circle and not a straight line.
Yeah, it's not,
Yeah, and that just blew my mind. And the more...
Yeah, your concept of time is only inside of yourself, because your concept of time is only inside of the mind. And it's like there's never been anything but now. There's never been anything but now. But you're a recording box, and you're also a meaning-making machine. So everything that you look at, you give it meaning, even though it doesn't have any inherent meaning. That doesn't mean that everything is meaningless. And I posted something on my story about that, the other day. But it doesn't mean everything is just meaningless. But there's no inherent meaning. Like, Joe, this is your microphone. but it's just a mic at the end of the day. It's actually not like you can't actually have ownership of it. It's in your possession at this moment. But the only thing that this is just a microphone.
Dude, I own it. I bought it.
Okay.
But this is fascinating to me, though.
No,
I love the meaning thing, and I love because I'm always about balance, right? That's what I always try to bring stuff back to. And like do things happen for a reason, or do you give them reason, right? Thing. It's fascinating to me. So continue on that.
So the time thing's interesting too, just real quick, because I've always kind of held this belief that, like, you know, for example, you think of time, like, and religion, you know, they make it seem like it's just this streamlined thing. But, you know, the way I look at it is like, you know, like what my ancestors did affect me today. What I do now affect my ancestors. It's
non-linear.
So there's a study out there, and
would you say concurrent? Or
dude, check this out. This is freaking awesome. There's a study out there, and I believe it's been talked about on podcast elsewhere too. It's the checking to see if there's actually generational trauma. And how you check that is through the DNA. Have you heard about this?
I've heard.
Yeah. So they basically took a mouse and they shocked the piss out of it, right? Multiple times. Every time it would smell this cherry blossom, like essential oil. And so every time they would allow the mouse to smell it, they would shock it, and then what they were testing for was, do the next generation of mice have the same effect?
Have a reaction to cherry blossom?
Yeah, not just one generation got scared shitless of cherry blossom. 14 generations later, 14. That, damn. Yeah, right.
That's
so
nuts.
that's it, like the things you experience today, and the things you experience in your life, and the things that we do now directly affect our entire generational line. So of course you're also experiencing all the things that your ancestors did, and unwiring and rewiring them.
much like on a more like spiritual concept, karma.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like, like on a simple level too, that anybody can understand anecdotally. It's like, maybe not Zoe, but 99% of people, you see a snake and you jump, right? It's like, where does that come from? It's like, because historically snakes have been super dangerous to humans. Right. If when you see a predator, why do you just like, if you've never experienced anything, right? If a snake has never bitten you, why would you react that way? It's because that's been a predator to humans.
That's crazy
for so long.
Well, it's just like karma in a way.
Hardwired.
Like that's what I think. I remember, you know, a lot of people think, like, it's funny because a lot of people don't want to credit a lot of bigger, like, other spirituality, yet, you know, karma kind of has been spoken about for a very, very long time. And, you know, a perfect example, you know, my woman was telling me about this family, and the grandfather, whatever, that she knew, the grandfather was like touched kids and shit, like, was pretty fucking gross, right? Well, and then like his kids, perfectly fine, normal life. Their kids all like died from like different like cancers and like, you know, accidents and stuff. Like, it's just kind of weird. Like, this kind of like, it can kind of come to fruition whenever. Now you can correct it, I believe. I think
right, you can, and and you is owning your shit for sure.
Yeah,
and
but anyways,
yeah. So I mean, I also have. There's a lot more to this first experience, because this is just the beginning. This sucks because of this experience, this one ayahuasca experience felt longer than my entire life, and so I was outside and I was trying to breathe through this, and this internal loop or external loop was happening. My external world, I couldn't get out of it. I couldn't even really make any actions. I was just internal, and I was observing what was going on, and it kept telling me to stay focused. And I was trying to breathe and I was trying to stay focused, but the trip was getting so incredibly overwhelming. And then I had a very extremely, very harsh experience of dying, that was essentially taking bit by bit away from me body-wise, like eyes getting taken away. How many things do you wish you would have seen? Mouth getting taken away. How many things do you wish you would have said? Heart getting taken away. How many things do you wish you would have loved? Feet getting taken away. How many places do you wish you would have gone? Every single piece of my body was taken away, one piece at a time. And it was like, it was showing me all of the things in my life that I haven't done, and also all the things that I wish I had done. Like, really, really, what do you want, right? And so it was like there's this voice that was constantly questioning me.
That's what I was about to ask. Was it like an auditory dialogue that you were hearing?
There was auditory, but also feelings. It was like, if I could tap you and put the feeling into you, of what I'm saying, that was really what it was like. But yes, there was definitely like legitimate sounds, and there was just a understanding in this realm. So I'm crossing over into these multi-layer realms of dying, and I'm like, you have to die. And then eventually, like, I was nothing, and it was like, then I just got slingshotted through multiple layers of death in different regards, and it was like just morphing my spirit, morphing my soul. It was incredible, but also the most intense thing I've ever experienced. And then somehow I landed in this place where it was just my energy, and it was also these like, what seemed to be about 12 other beings. And these beings were like deities. They weren't deities in the sense of like, they weren't deities in the sense that we think. They were just pure archetypes. There was no name. There was no, there was no,
12 of them.
Yeah. Right. And there was no recognition. And it was interesting because it was like, I was the 13th, but I was like an infant. They were huge. They were like towering over me. And I was like, just, this like little baby thing.
But you were like among them though.
Yeah. I was sitting in this thing, and they were all looking at me. And at first I thought it was judgment, but then it was like, I realized that they were looking at me in expectation.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who I was. I had completely died. Jesse had completely gone. There was no more. I had completely crossed over. I didn't think about returning to this life whatsoever. I was in a totally different freaking place. And so these 12 beings were like there, and it was just like they were looking at me. There was no talking, but they were just like these monstrous things. And each of them held their own archetype. I wasn't really paying attention to that at the very beginning, but while I'm here, it's like I keep asking, like, who am I? Who am I? What am I doing here? Who am I? And they're like, we can't answer that. And I'm like trying to figure it out. And all I can see is like all these things that have ever been done to me, but not only things happening in this life, but things happening in other lives. And this realm is not like, this realm is purely energy. It is more real than this. It is more like here than what you would say here. And so this realm is purely energy. I'm sitting amongst them. And then I keep hearing that voice, stay focused, come back. What's important, right? And so I have to go through this process of just being still and not worrying about who I am, not worrying about what's going on. It's like I can actually feel myself in an energy form move into a manifestation of like a lotus position, a meditation position. And now I'm sitting here, and I imagine this bubble form around me. And this is just happening. And this bubble forms around me. And as I'm meditating, and as I'm like just trying to be still in the chaos, because this is absolute chaos. It feels like something is consuming me and eating me, and something is absolutely shredding my soul apart. And so the only way out is stillness. And like, again, this felt like 50 years that I was in this place. And so I eventually came to that lotus position and came to stillness. And there was like this energy that was pouring it over top of me. And I was in this bubble. And then all of a sudden, when the energy actually started coming in and I started gathering myself, it would flood out the bottom of these holes and cracks in the bubbles, or in the bubble. And everywhere it flooded, I would take note of it. And then as soon as I took note of it, it would slingshot me to this, like some past life or my past or anything, multiple different lives of getting abused, raped, getting absolutely decimated, completely killed in battle. So some kind of thing that I had to live on repeat again. So now as an eternal loop. And so this eternal loop that I was in was like loop, 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 loop. And I'm going crazy. And it's like, oh wait, I'm just observing this. Okay, cool. What's this problem? Okay, I see why this happened. I understand. Right. And so it's like I had to relive it until I could come to terms with it and be okay. And then
like each one of those situations,
each situation. And then it was like, next, forget all over again. Oh, wait, I'm observing.
And those were looped until you could.
And each one that I did healed like a hole in the bubble. And so then it was like this energy keeps flowing over me. And then the bubble's getting more and more filled. And then eventually it's like, as the bubble's getting filled, I'm growing bigger and stronger. And these preconceptions of like, who am I? What am I? All this shit, I'm not worried about it at all. Because eventually, as I'm healing all of this, whatever it is, I'm just like coming to terms with everything. I'm being forced to witness. And I'm coming to terms with all of this stuff. And it's like, I just stop worrying about who I am. And I come into a presence of I am. and I come into a presence of, I create myself. I come into a presence of like, I am whoever I say I am. And so now, like after what felt like 50 years, I'm standing amongst these insane deities. I'm standing amongst these beings, and these huge towering like things they feel kind to me. They feel nice. They feel like brothers and sisters. And I noticed that there's different archetypes. Like there's the mage or
that's what I was about to ask about the archetypes.
Yeah. It's like the woman, the man, the mage, the mother, the father, the king, the king, lover, all archetypes that you could think of makes between 12.
I was thinking about like,
you could think of Zodiac too.
I was thinking like Jordan Peterson is probably the most experience I have with that. Cause he talks a lot about like the archetypical tyrant king and the wise king and the devouring mother and the like those things. So is that what you mean when you said you saw? Yes,
not negative connotations. These were these were like perfected sovereign beings that had perfected energy, and these were absolute choices, and it was almost like 12 different choices and different angles that you could be. And it was like I was the 13th. That was like a mix between all of it. Mm-hmm. And from what I got from that, we're all the 13th. It's
a hybrid, baby. That's what I love. That the hybrid.
And
I was just going to ask you one more thing about that, because you mentioned it was like they were brother or sister. That just reminds me of something. Again, I'm on the outside. I've never done any of this stuff, but on Rogan, I remember he was talking to somebody else, but they were agreeing that whenever maybe they were talking about DMT or maybe they were talking about mushrooms, I don't remember, but they were talking about this place that they go to and these things that, these beings that they see, but they both said that it always felt like the place itself that you go to, that it always felt oddly familiar, like that you've been there before. Yeah. And like in a way that he couldn't really describe it. He's like, if you're, you go into your old house that you used to be in, it's just like a feeling of like all the energy, all the all the time that you had spent there. He was like, and they both agreed that was a feeling of like familiarity with the place that you go to, which I thought was really fascinating, because whenever I think about like, I'm not a super religious person. So like one thing that I struggle with is like, what happens when you die, where you go. But one thing that I do believe at this point is that, your energy can't be created or destroyed. They've measured the human body when they die, and there's something that is not accounted for, et cetera. So I believe in the soul and that kind of thing. So if I think that we go somewhere because of that, because you can't be destroyed, it's more like a transfer, recycle, go, whatever. And again, I'm speaking on very low terms compared to where you're at, but then that also means that you're probably came from somewhere in a similar fashion. You know what I mean? So like, it's just, though, even just the pure logic of it is fascinating to me whenever you think about some of this stuff. But anyways.
And I think it's interesting, the significance of the number 12, just like being spiritual like I am, like the gods in the pantheon, the different, especially Indo-European beliefs, but even some would suggest, the 12 disciples of Christ, right? Like there's a connection there too. Like 12 is always interesting. 12 Knights of the Round Table.
There's definitely a purpose of it. There's definitely a purpose of it. And these 12 held, it was like these archetypes held the world. Yeah. It was like they held, like if the warrior up there didn't exist, he wouldn't exist down here. If the maiden up there didn't exist, she wouldn't exist down here. And it was like, this was like the core. Like I went to the center of like the universe, dude. And this was like the core of like how things are operating. And behind that was like the one almighty, if you want to say that.
So would it be crazy?
I don't want to open that box.
Would it be crazy to suggest for example, the Germanic gods, what the stories about them, right? Mm-hmm. Cause you do have warrior god, right? Like a Tyr, you got Freya, stuff like that. So, and listen to what you're saying, we suggest that possibly, people that have seen these gods, those are just like earthly versions of what you saw. I would maybe some type of like, you know what I'm saying? It's smaller scale.
Yeah. So
you're saying like when they were on Earth?
Like, yeah, things that I don't know. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. It is a hard frame to explain because most people will immediately demolish it. But I would say that the people who have been there know, and it's there's a dance going on up in heaven, if you want to say that.
Yeah.
And this dance is done. The first dance is done by the one Almighty. Yeah. And that dance is separated into what I would say is something like the 12.
Yeah.
And that dance is separated into the lower and the lower and the
Talking
lower.
about like
and the lower.
a hierarchy of gods.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about like God separating, like basically separating himself into different dimensional levels.
Yeah.
It's all a fraction of.
Yes. And so like, even when you understand fractals, you understand that everything's a fractal of a fractal. And so we are all a fractal of God. We are all descended from God. And so everything in that descent,
It's really interesting.
Did that descent ever end? No, it didn't. Cool. It's still continuously going on. There's a dance in heaven going on. And that dance we are playing out here. And so we're playing out here in a multitude. Everybody, if you want to say gods or you want to say archetypes, I'm not going to say gods in the sense of like, they are indefinitely like ownership beings. Now, I'm not like an authority on this. I just know what I experienced, and I know it was much more real than this realm was. Yeah. And it's hard. It's a hard no if you ask me if I'm going to deny it.
This episode is brought to you by the Music City Fit Expo. This is the largest fitness expo in the South, all held within 70,000 square feet at the Nashville Fairgrounds. There will be more than 150 fitness vendors ranging from apparel, gyms, to supplements, and more. This is going to be at the Nashville Fairgrounds May 13th. Come out, watch tons of fitness events, meet 4 times Mr. Olympia Jay Cutler, support vendors, and meet tons of amazing people within the fitness industry here in Middle Tennessee. All of this and more May 13th at the Nashville Fairgrounds. For more information, get your tickets and head over to musiccityfitexpo.com or find these guys on Instagram at Music City Fit Expo. Thank you.
Go for it. We ready?
Yep.
So, I'm standing amongst these gods, and I'm, if you want to call them gods or archetypes, whatever you want to call them. And it's like I learned how to be a god out there in the ether. And what it took was, and this is very important, and can talk about this later, but it took absolute honor, which, I've made that a very important thing in my life. Honor is huge to me because it's the only thing that you can foundationally stand upon in the afterlife, so to speak. Yeah. So basically I honored myself by going through everything and dealing with everything and coming to terms with what had happened. I came to the present moment of my energy, and I built my own energy. I chose who I was. I didn't take it from anybody else. I didn't fester and like, you could imagine like a demon, or you could imagine like you could imagine like some other kind of being that may take energy from something else. This was absolutely like, no, this is my energy. And I built this, and I created this, and I spent time on this, and this is who I am, and I decided. And now it was so in the moment that there wasn't mental thinking here, that this realm didn't work by mental thinking. This realm worked purely by, how you manifest yourself to be happy? Or how you like will yourself, like you try. Yeah. That is exactly the only way this realm worked. It could only work if you had to will yourself, right, into being. And so you like literally had to feel into a hand if you wanted to create a hand. And it was crazy. And so I'm standing amongst these beings, and they open this doorway like a completion thing, like kind of like to go back home, I guess. And I reach out. Then it was like stars, and there was like a lightning bolt that was like coming down through the stars, and it was like crazy looking. It was amazing. And I just remember being in all of it. Like even there, I was like, whoa. And so I reach out for whatever reason, and I'm kind of just observing myself, and I grab this lightning bolt. And it was like, there was a resounding kind of message there that I still hadn't necessarily covered, which is like, who am I? But not in the way of like, I wonder who I am, but it's like, who am I? And instead of writing Jesse in the stars, I wrote Hercules. I carved it with a lightning bolt in the stars, Hercules. And next thing I know, I get zapped back to my body. Now, it's too much to describe, but the point of getting zapped back to my body, there was so many layers of reality experiences that I experienced.
It's like Doctor Strange.
Dude, yeah.
Like when they crashed through
Yes, dude, yes. And there's so much shit that I saw, but much more intense. And there's horrific things, there's beautiful things, there's a lot of wild shit that I saw, but there was a willpower. And at that point, the willpower was coming from, I had to get back. I had done something that I was supposed to do, and I had to get back. And it was like, kind of like ayahuasca was taunting me, like, this is your trip. You wanted this. You came out here. This is what you wanted to do, right? And I was like, no, I want to go home. And at the time I was dating somebody and I had my dog and I just saw that person's face and my dog. And I was like, fuck, man, I just want to be home. I just want to be home more than anything. I want to get back to that. And so it was like ayahuasca kept taunting me, like to stay in the trip, stay in the ether. And I was like, no. And like, I remember feeling like Hercules ripping through the ether, ripping through different levels of consciousness to get back to my body, to find it. And when I got zapped back to my body, that was a whole big thing. I instantly came into my body and the physical sensations felt absolutely weird. I couldn't understand anything going on. My head felt like there was an egg beater in it. I am now not outside. I am now inside, and I am curled up in the fetal position. The shaman is holding me in her arms, and I am puking all over myself. I am absolutely convulsing and seizing up and freaking out, and I can't make any sense. I'm like my words aren't working anymore. And I'm just like looking around, and it's like another fucking eternal loop. And the shaman is like shoving what I didn't know what she was putting in my mouth, but she was shoving things in my mouth. And that was freaky, dude, coming back to that, her shoving shit in my mouth. I was like, dude, what is going on?
Didn't help the whole, she's trying to steal my soul.
Exactly, bro.
He's like, oh my God, I was fucking right. Look,
dude, yeah, man, it was terrifying, dude.
And of course you don't remember anything from going from outside to inside.
No. And it was terrifying. I later found out that it was salt and lemon, which is what you use to kill the trip.
Yeah.
And she just, but like, from my point of view, like I'm spaced out, and like trip vision, I'm spaced out. I'm like laying down, looking up, and she's like coming over on top of me, and she's like whispering, she's like, here, baby, take this. And I'm like,
it seems like the worst time to have somebody force feed something to you.
Dude, it was so, just even that thought is still freaky, man. Damn. And then it was like, she kept taking care of me. She kept periodically visiting me, and I was laying, and the songs kept going, and what seemed like a few more years, dude, it seemed like I was stuck in that damn room forever. And I was like slowly and I remember her coming back and checking on me one time, and I was kind of finding my way mentally because I thought I was crazy. I thought I was going in a mental institution. I thought I was stuck there forever. And I was just like, and I finally kind of had this thought. I was like, dude, first of all, I was thinking like, nobody's going to love me. Nobody cares about me. I'm stuck like this forever. I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. And then it finally hit me. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. If I'm crazy, I love myself. Like, I got to start now because like, nobody's going to love me like this. And it doesn't fucking matter because I got me and I'm taking care of me. And a few times I remember her coming around, and she was like, my mentality was getting a little bit better because she came around. She's like, how you doing? I was like, the sun's going to come up someday. Like I was tripping balls, bro. And so then it was like when I really, really made contact with self-love, that was when it just released me. And it was abrupt. It was like, you're done. And it was like, the shaman stopped singing, and she's like, all right, guys, you made it. And everybody's like, woo. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I just come to immediately, and I'm like, I'm still ayahuasca drunk, but I'm not tripping like that. Like, I just come straight out of this like hypnotic, crazy trance. And everybody's cheering, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then she's like, Jesse, you landed. She said, Jesse, you landed. Are you good? I was like, fuck this shit. Like, I was not having it. I was so over that shit. And she was like, all right, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck just happened. And she's like, all right, baby, can you make it over your seat? And then I realized I'm in the middle of the entire space, covered in puke, just covered in blankets and shit. They were taking good care of me, but I just kept puking on myself. And it was, I was like, damn. And I was so humbled and humiliated. The majority of the night, I was just thinking how much of a disgrace I was. And that was like, this is the big takeaway for me, because like at one point I was outside very beginning when I recognized that I had an issue with like all of the problems or should I say entrapment issues or whatever. I was outside screaming at a bucket for a minute before I went hardcore into the trip. And I was like, come on, dude, just let it fucking go. Just let it go, you big stubborn bastard.
You're trying to throw up?
And yeah, I was just trying to puke. And I was like, screaming, puke,
that's
puke.
the thing, right?
Yeah. Sucks.
Yeah, I was trying to get it out of me because I was like, I know what I need to do. Let's puke. And then like, it just wasn't coming at that point.
What is the function of that?
So if you ever do ayahuasca, I think everybody can attest it. Like when you figure out what it is that the problem is, or what it is that you came there for, or what the big revelation is, or maybe just something you need to see that you didn't see, puke always comes right there. It's like it just comes right on cue perfectly.
So you were hoping that when you went outside, you had figured out what you needed to figure out?
Yes.
Gotcha.
But I had to,
Gotcha.
So
you were just getting started.
yeah.
It's wild, dude. Like my experience was nothing like that. I'm gonna go back and go hard. 5 cups, baby. I'm going 6. Just kidding. Not doing that.
Joe, please don't. So but the big takeaway for this was like, I had puked on myself all night. I was screaming outside. I was making a fucking disgrace out of myself. I was losing my fucking mind. There's no way to control myself. Like I've never lost control in my life. I got raised very, very strictly of think before you act, period. I've never lost control. I've never even had a fight just out of fucking anger. I've had a fight because I chose to if I did anything. And it was just so disgraceful. And when I puked in my hand, I remember feeling it. And I remember having an internal thought, because the external world was fucked up. And I remember having an internal thought of like, yeah, dude, can you just sit here and puke in your hand for a minute? Can you just hold your shit? Can you just hold all your shit just for a minute and just like look at yourself as a disgrace? And can you accept yourself like that? Can you accept yourself at your lowest point and not worry about what anyone thinks? Can you not even be judgmental of yourself and worry about what you think? Can you just be a fucking disgrace for just a moment? Just a moment, because I have a hard time letting myself do that. I have a hard time letting myself be totally, utterly humiliated. And this one just forced me. It forced it. It brought me to that point. And I learned a lot of acceptance, because I think in my internal world, I had held on to so much. I judge this shit out of myself. And internally,
I'm there with you as well.
I don't really try to judge other people, but internally judging the shit out of myself causes me to have interactions with other people when my expectations are not met.
Yeah.
Right. And so this really blew that door open. So the first night was accepting myself, but it also brought me to a recognition of why I didn't accept myself in the first place. And that's because I didn't hold any strong boundaries, and I let people walk all over me. I let people run my shit. Like I let people run all over me, mostly in the case of love, mostly in the case of like, in the past, friendships, like I just didn't speak up. I didn't say my piece.
Yeah.
And then when I did, I exploded like an asshole, and I didn't really communicate well. I just let it build up and fester up until I had enough. And I expected y'all to get that the whole time rather than communicating. So what I got from it was communicate. Now there's 2 other nights, but they were intense. The third night was awesome.
You had multiple nights of trip?
Yes.
Doing ayahuasca?
Yeah, dude.
So
And
everything we just talked about just now is the first night.
that was the first night.
And you went back the next night and did it again.
Not the next night. Every other night we did it. And dude, I did not want to, but they were like, nah, you got to. Cause like, that was the first thing I said too. I was like, Shaman was like, how you doing?
And you said, fuck this.
Dude, Shaman was like, you doing, how you doing? You doing okay? I was like, needless to say, I will never do that again. And she's like,
After the first night?
yeah. She's like, oh no, you gotta finish out the ceremony. I was like,
Damn.
and in my head, like, I'm like,
You're like, bro, if it's anything like that,
Fuck.
one was, dude, I'm good to go.
Yeah,
You not go that hard.
yeah, dude, I don't know. And like, I couldn't, it was so intense. I couldn't even comprehend it. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I just got to a point just now, for like 3.5 months later, just now I got to a point to where I'm comfortable with it, and I accepted it, and I got over it, because it showed me a lot of dark things. I got very suicidal after this ayahuasca experience, because there's a lot of portions of different things that happened after, but it was everything that played out in my life was quite obviously the universe asking me, like, bro, are you going to stand up for yourself, and are you going to own your shit? And I didn't for a minute, and I kept playing into miserable circumstances, and that kept me from loving myself and caring about myself even more so. And so I started trying to set boundaries, and then I just kept feeling overwhelmed with these feelings of just the trip was very extreme. So I really thought that I was God for a minute, and all of this was fake. and everything in my life had been a figment of my imagination. Kind of like me thinking like I am both Brahma and Krishna, if you understand any Hinduism whatsoever. Or sorry, no, Brahma and Maya. And I was just looking at everything like, well, I'm just making all this up. All this is bullshit. All this is fake. But that's like my ego that was attaching onto the mental experience of the ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And I was completely invalidating my own experience as well as everyone else's. And when I realized I was invalidating everyone else's, it helped a lot because I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so at some point I kept having this feeling of just like, yeah, dude, none of this is real. You should just end it. And it was like, not because I hated my life. I love my life. Like I was like, dude, no, I don't want to do that. And that voice never stopped. And eventually it got to a point to where it was like, dude, this is not me. Like I love my life. Like I started writing, I just got so bad that like I started writing gratitude every morning, every night. I started writing what I was grateful for. I could not feel grateful for a fucking thing, no matter how much I truly was, no matter how much I was like pointing my head in a direction of like, I love this, I love that. And this is so important to me. It's like I couldn't feel that happiness or that gratitude. And it was so overwhelmingly intense that like I hated every second of the fucking day. And there was nothing that could make me happy. My girlfriend couldn't make me happy. My dog couldn't make me happy. My life couldn't make me happy. No, nothing. And then it got to the final point of where I was so overwhelmed that I acknowledged this voice in my head. And I was like, dude, this is not me. I love my life. This is not me. And I can't say that this is me because it's total bullshit.
Yeah.
And I literally just had an outburst screaming alone of just saying, you know what, fuck this voice. Fuck this stupid shit. Fuck everything this has to say. I like who I am. I like who I am, and I'm not going to fucking be afraid of who I am anymore. I like who I am. I don't give a fucking flying fuck about anyone else's opinion and anything that anyone has to say about me because I'm right here and I care about me and I got me. And even if I'm going to go insane, even if this damn voice is going to talk to me for the rest of my life, I'm going to fight it. And I'm gonna take it down with me to the fucking very last breath.
Oh yeah.
And at that moment of saying that out loud, it was just like, yeah, good. Gone. Dude, I tried exorcisms and shit. And it lasted for like a day and a half and then it came right back.
Yeah, I know. You said something about being a priest or something to me. You were like, I didn't exorcism. I'm going to be a priest. I'm like, what the fuck is Jesse doing? And the next day, I never heard anything about it. And I'm like, well, I guess he's not going to do the priest thing. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, dude. I just let it go.
Yeah, dude.
I was like, he's just working through some shit.
Dude, yeah,
I'm pretty sure Lydia was sitting here.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's just working through things, babe. Don't you?
Dude, I was in deep with that shit.
You were desperate.
Hell yeah,
you're
dude.
almost like desperate to like, you know, when it comes back, you're desperate just to like not give a fuck, but like also
it wasn't to not
just be human.
Yeah, just be human because it was like it took me so far out of the human realm, and I had to open up to coming back to what like it was funny because at the very end it was like, what did ayahuasca teach you, bro? And it's like I totally forgot it through these months, and it was like, you love yourself no matter what, even if you're crazy or even if you're out there. Who cares? Yeah. And you know, it didn't help that in my relationship I was experiencing a lot of discontent feelings and things of that nature. But at the same time, I based things way too much off of whether things are right or wrong with any friends or any relationships or any family. I base things way too much off of that going well.
It was also you know, that's also a thing too, is like, you know, to make sense of that, just building the correct relationships and eliminating the viruses, you know, like I talked a lot about all the people I've lost in my life, but like they're not there for a reason. They're the kind of people that are going to make you feel a certain way. But I can say for the most part, now that I think about it, everybody in my life is just like loves me for me, you know? And like, I'm not worried about them thinking differently of me, so I can just fucking be me and not care. You know what I'm saying? I think that comes down to it as well. So,
and there was a really tough bridge here between now and then because I had realized that I had to be real, and I realized I had to have my boundaries, and I realized that I was silencing myself in so many places. And the moment that I stopped silencing myself, not just with my relationship, but also with my a couple of my friends, and it was funny because you were going through the same thing with your friends too. I just had people stepping away from me because I was just being real and I was just opening up. And when I decided to honor my feelings and honor who I was, you know, it was like you figure out who your real friends are. And one of the things that I was battling and fighting within that was like the obvious answers that were in front of me that I wouldn't take on because I loved people so much. And I told myself that I loved them so much. And I told myself that life is important with them and all that shit.
Yep.
And then it was like, you know, the real peace kind of came when I finally just recognized it. Like, you just got to like yourself for you, and whoever's here is here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I love that shit, dude. So you learned, although it was pretty fucking tormenting,
Hell yeah.
The entire journey from the ayahuasca to, you know, obviously the past few months. But you learned something extremely valuable, you know, and I think one thing you told me recently is that, like, you know, and I've just been thinking about it more as you're talking, like, you got to experience this realm out there, right? And it's just so extremely different than anything we've ever experienced. But one thing I took from it as well is just like, yeah, maybe you just appreciate being human, being alive, being in here, because like that's there, and you know that now. But you're obviously here for a reason and on this world and like living this life. You know what I'm saying? And like, I think we're just here to just fucking experience life and be human because like it's a gift.
Yeah, dude. I mean, this is the most, I don't know, are we running out of time?
You got about 10 minutes tops.
So, yeah.
We'll do a part 2 if we have to.
Yeah,
Like I said, I have a feeling we could just make it a regular.
Me and you, you know, you helped me so much because I asked you, you know, you always say like, there's not a day that goes by without you thinking of your wreck. And there wasn't a day that went by after this experience that I wasn't thinking about it. And
it's crazy.
It was so intense. I couldn't let it go. And I mean, it's kind of viewing it as like, it was definitely a trauma response, but at the same time, I was like, dude, like, how often do you think about your wreck? And you're like, every day. And I'm like, you know, we were talking and I was getting to know like how you thought. I was like, does it almost feel like if you don't stick to your mission, coming back and haven't seen what you've seen through that wreck and haven't experienced that entire thing, that you're wasting your life? And you said, absolutely. And that's exactly how I felt. And I was like, and there were so many elements of coming back from that immense amount of experience and like building myself that intensely in the experience to coming back. And it was like, well, I kind of have to match that now in a way, not necessarily Hercules, but match it in the sense of like, I have to match it in the sense of I got to really help and own my shit. Like I know a lot to help people, and there's a lot of things that I've had ideas about that I continuously silence. Yeah. And it's not necessarily like a duty that I owe, but it's a duty that I feel like if I'm going to live and live this life to the fullest, to my full extent of my ability, and, not silence myself, I got to do a lot more.
Yeah.
Because like my presence internally is a lot more than what is being shown externally. Exactly. And it's like if I don't do that, life is kind of catching me. It's like,
yeah. And you're reminded of that situation,
right?
You know, I thinking about it now, you know, that, you know, I've got like my set standard internally, right? Of like where I want to be or the life I want to live. And, you know, if there's days I haven't lived up to par with that or have fallen short quite a bit in a negative way, that's when like my survivor's guilt kicks in. It's like, why the fuck are you here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Does it make sense? It's just like, oh shit. Like, so you got to live up to par and just like appreciate it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's kind of,
no, it does make a lot of sense.
it's just like, oh shit, when I slack, I'm like, why the fuck
like,
do I deserve to be here then? Somebody else could be here.
Yeah.
that would take advantage of, that wouldn't have had a bad day today or wouldn't.
Yeah.
And that brings it into grace, man, because like that's the big thing is like that's coming into a place of absolutely recognizing your humanness, and recognizing your humility in this lifetime. You're never going to amount to that no matter what. You should always be striving.
Yeah.
But you're never going to amount to some godlike level that you emphasize upon yourself, because like if you don't have the ultimate grace for yourself to fuck up and be it, like, you know, Rumi said, well, shit. It ends with drink your disgrace, or drink your passion and be a disgrace, meaning do exactly as you would and just let it all hang out there pretty much, you know. And the only way you can do that is if you're human. The only way you can expose the ability to fuck up,
you know,
is if you
And I just circled grace on my paper.
Yeah.
Because it's something I do need to focus on. I mean, dude, you're not the first to say it. Lydia, I've heard it from Lydia a million times.
Margaret
She's
tells
like,
me,
give yourself some grace. And I'm like,
she gets so upset with me because I'm so hard on myself all the time.
yeah. And that's just like, I think that's going to be something I meditate on.
Yeah.
Like every night. Like I haven't really taken the time to focus on that. But yeah, I just need to fucking do that, man.
We'll have a conversation about something. I'll get real deep. It's like earlier when we were talking, you're like, hey, you need to take a breath. You know, it's kind of like that. Like we'll just be talking and going, and she's like, you're really just like being way too hard on yourself. Like the whole, like all of this is unnecessary. You're just being too hard on yourself.
Did you like that, like low key calm down, buddy?
Yeah. I mean, like I told you, it's
calm down.
As soon as you said, yeah. Oh yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, 100%.
I was like, hey,
100%.
you want to take a breath?
Jesse always checks me on my energy.
You know, I'll tell you what though, like,
but it was good. It was better today. I was still excitable, but it was not bad, at least.
Yeah,
dude, this is what I love though, is this, and like having this conversation, hearing your experience. You know, I've heard it before. Well, maybe not quite that in depth. You did tell it really well. Usually we're just going back and forth. So sit down, let you share it like that way. It's really cool, man. And it's also fucking calmed me down quite a bit because I was 100 miles per hour all morning. So it's been pretty cool just to have you share that and you know, hear what you learned from it and your experiences, man. And like, I'm excited to see what like happens going forward, you know, and how you hold yourself up, because it's pretty cool, man. And I don't know, at the end of the day, that gratitude thing is important. I think that's something I speak on a lot, you know, and it's easy to sit there and acknowledge gratitude. A lot of people maybe acknowledge the things they're grateful for, but like, do they truly feel that gratitude for it? Because if you do, you're so much more, if you actually feel it, you're like, makes you so much more powerful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, dude. Like just like Han said on your podcast, you know, like, you know, with the Dalai Lama saying like the best thing you can do is gratitude, understanding that is a muscle.
Yeah.
And understanding that is something you got to flex all the time. You have to come back. You have to gravitate your mind back to gratitude no matter what.
Yep.
And that's why I think it's such a good practice to write. Like I try to write it every day as well. And one of the best parts about it that I've noticed is that like it trains your mind to look for that.
Right.
You know?
Actually, cool thing, real quick, side note, brain physiology. I'm in breathwork school right now, so I learn about a lot of this cool brain physiology stuff that I didn't necessarily know of. And my breathwork instructor kind of explained to me a lot of things that were happening from the ayahuasca experience. There's something in your brain called a RAS. It's like a reticular, I think it's activating system. I might be wrong, but I do know what it does. And it filters out a lot of information that you don't need. And it filters like the thousands of bits that you're coming in to like 40 or 50 bits of what's super necessary, what you need for survival. However, that 40 or 50 bits is wired to your previous experiences and what you know to be true and what you stopped on me, what you deem to be important. And so if you find it important to really look for problems, you're going to find them. If you find it important to look for gratitude, you're going to find it. And so
you can rewire that.
Exactly. And that's the cool part. And that's also a cool part about breath work. And so
I keep a gratitude and a pride journal for that exact reason, to try to elicit, you know, feelings of those two things. So,
right.
And like we talked about before, like it all comes down to the simplest thing, just choice.
Right.
We all have a choice in how we look at things or how we react to things. You can choose whether or not to fucking seek problems, or you can choose whether or not to seek gratitude.
Right.
You can choose to react this way to someone giving you some shit. You can choose to react another way. Like it all comes down to that simple thing, man.
Yep.
And sometimes we just let things our emotions get the best of us and go the wrong way with it. So I think it's just, there's a lot of value here and stuff we can sit here and talk about on and on. Unfortunately, we do got to cut it short because I want to go more in depth into a lot of these subjects. But that being said, Jesse, I'll see you tomorrow and the next day. And, and we'll be recording here soon, man. I think we're going to like probably record with Jesse, you know, at least once a month. Fuck it. Something like that. Jesse, well, I mean, it's, and you know, he's family, man. It's like always going to be productive conversation.
I got stories for days. Yeah. Dude,
people love Jesse.
But there's also like a dozen times that we could have gone into entire other conversations while we were talking about this, you know?
So. Yeah. And if we had,
we had a main thing to get through, but in general, if he was on more frequently, it wouldn't matter as much. We could, not for today because you still had a main thing, but in general, we could sit down and just kind of go where it goes, you know, if you were on frequently.
Yeah. So with closing, I will say that if there's anything I've learned from this experience, it is that truly as humans, we own nothing. The angel of death owns everything. And in the aspect of what the angel of death owns, it is simply because he is allowing you to use it right now. And in the moment of your passing, it's gone. So in that aspect, it is a humbling of understanding that death comes for us all and that we can take nothing from this life except our honor. And that's kind of what I was taught through all this.
Death is inevitable.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to the life we live.
Exactly.
Damn right, baby. I fucking love this. Is good shit, dude. I want to keep going, but no, we'll be back. Right. Jesse's not going anywhere. So, guys, thank you for coming. Jesse, thank you for being here, bro. It was a great one. I love you, dude. Logan, thank you as always. Love you, bro. And yeah, see you soon.